Okay, we're here. Hello, welcome to Tuesday training, everybody. I'm so glad you all are in the house. We are going to talk some anatomy, foundational anatomy and client work today. And we're going to do that for the whole hour like we do every week here on this time and place. Hey, Cheryl, I'm glad you guys are here. Hey, Gary, Cheryl and Gary in the club seats. I'm going to check in right now and see who's here live with us. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I was in the wrong Zoom room. So I was
I was
hanging out in
wondering.
another training by myself. And then I realized it took me a minute, but I got there. So I'm so glad you guys hung out and waited for us to go live so that I could enjoy you while we're here today. I'm going to pull up those of us who are also here live on Zoom. Please feel free if you're here on Zoom to use the chat feature so that we can interact with you. Let us know that you're here. Let me know what your questions are. We're going to talk foundational anatomy today, and we're also going to talk some celebrations because it's kind of a big week here for us at Schatz Method headquarters. Cheryl and her pod just graduated from a year-long trek. Woo! Celebration! Yay! Celebration! And we have another entire beautiful pot of people starting. July is our start date. Because of the holiday, we have just a few extra days before we can all huddle together and be together. But we are just wrapping up our final enrollment right now as we speak. So this is super exciting. Cheryl, you have to leave early, no problem, because you have clients because you're busy now, because that's what happens after you're in mastery. Just saying. But I'm happy about that. And I'm also happy that you spent some of your time with us. Tell us who's here watching live. I can see you guys are here. Sherry, hello, hello, hello. She's saying congratulations, Cheryl, to you. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, Gary.
Happy birthday. That's right. Happy birthday.
Oh,
That's
Gary, I
great.
can't hear you, but I can see you with your party hat on. You are adorable. Oh, that is making my day. You are so cute. Yes, it is my birthday, and I love hanging out with you guys. So, of all the days that I might have been able to use an excuse to say no Tuesday training, I'm like, no, no, I want to hang out with my practitioners today. So, thanks for being here with me too and for celebrating. You're so cute. That is the cutest little happy birthday balloon I've ever seen with the party hat. Thanks, Gary. We also have, before I forget, we also have celebration happening in your inbox. If you guys are looking for training, we opened up our entire CE library for our celebration day. It's just during my birthday, it's a birthday bash. If you guys are accruing CEs or you've had your eye on a course for a while, now's the time to go in there. Thank you, Sherry, for the happy birthday wishes because I birthday slashed all of them and you guys can gobble them all up and keep them for lifetime replays, but it's only till midnight tonight because, we're not supposed to celebrate our birthdays for a month, although I might, but we're going to try to contain it to just for July 1st. So check your inboxes. The links are in there and all of the courses are available for you. I know Danielle. Danielle, you know who I am. There's lots of Danielles in our orbit, but there's a particular Danielle who's asked me a few times to make all of the courses available so that you can peruse the library. We've done that over the weekend. So my team and I were actively making that happen. So Danielle, if you're listening on the replay here, everything you asked for is there now. Thanks for the motivation or the, you know, suggestion that we be motivated and get that done. So super excited about all of that. And I want you guys to continue to train, even on my birthday, especially on my birthday, because we all get to celebrate how smarty pants we are and the amazing work that we do in the world. So that's what I want to do today. I want to talk today and this month of July on anatomy. And I've used this term before and said foundational anatomy. And it's super interesting when you're doing messaging and marketing, which we talk about in our professional development portion of our training. Thank you, Simon. I appreciate the birthday wishes. We talk about what word choices and how our mirror neurons pick up on word choices and what that already implies for meaning to the person who's listening. And have we chosen the right words to enroll our clients in the work that we need to do, or why we're not going to focus on the area that they think we want to focus on, or a lot of reasons why we choose word choices. Also, empowerment, we're not going to lock people into diagnoses. So we've talked about that here even in Tuesday training. And then marketing, we don't talk about here in Tuesday training much, but we do a fair bit of that in our professional development. And one of the things that I've learned about marketing, which I'm not a marketing specialist, guys. Like I'm not a tech specialist, I'm not a marketing specialist, I'm not an online anything. I'm a teacher, right? Like I'm an educator of high-level body work and I'm an I was going to say an executor, but that sounds like executionist. But I am also a service provider, and that's what I do. Everything else that I have to do to get you guys here to be with me is a huge learning curve for me. It's like not my favorite part. You being here, absolutely, but the means to the end of getting you here, ooh, I feel like I'm getting stretched on the daily. And so one of those is marketing. Like, what words do I use to put out into the internet when you don't hear the tone of my voice or the inflection or the, you know, flavor on my face? What words do I put out there that will let you know that I have something for you and that I want to pour into you about that? Because I do. I want to pour into you. Thank God you don't have to do it all yourself. I don't have to do it all myself. Thank you, Gary, for the reminder. I have an incredible small but mighty team, and still I get to drive that team, and I'd rather have somebody else do the driving and the teaming, but that's cool. It's still a stretch even with a team. And so one of the things that I practiced with, they say, the teachers on marketing say, survey the people that you're in service to and see if what you're saying is what they want. Because it might just be a word choice. And we know that when we work with our clients, right? Like maybe it's just a word choice that we're telling them something that reminds them of another treatment they already had that didn't work. So we want to say it differently then, because it's not the same treatment they used to have. Thank you, Perry. Thanks for the birthday wishes. Um, so one of the things that I said is getting us back to anatomy here. One of the phrases that I used at one point, not too long ago, maybe 2 years ago, was I said foundational anatomy. And I'm telling you guys, zero of you raised your hand and said, yes, I'd like some more of that. Zero of you, which I found, Gary, you're laughing because you know where this is going. I found startling. Like, what do you mean you don't want foundational anatomy? How could you not want foundational anatomy? That's where all the answers are. All the questions you're asking me have answers in this anatomy. And what I realized, I think, you guys tell me if you remember me saying that, because again, it's been a couple years, but I know a lot of you have been with me for quite some time, and I love that. Tell me if you remember me saying that and what came up for you. Because I think what came up was, especially those of you who've been practitioners for some time, you are striving, you are doing complicated casework. And what might have come up for you is you thought, well, I need more than the basics, which I applaud you, by the way, if you say that. Some other thoughts that might have come up is, well, I don't want to do foundational. I just want to get to solving the problem. I already did foundational in school, and that didn't teach me enough. That was you, Gary? You raised your hand? Yeah, that was you. I get it, right? So again, when we're talking and being understood, or we're talking and we're not quite being fully understood, the idea is this goes into our leadership and like looking into the other person's perspective. It's not what you said or even if they heard you. It's what meaning did they make and did it match the meaning you intended? And if the answer is yes, continue on. If the answer is no, try again. It's like not a fault or problem or anything like that. And a lot of marketing, by the way, I'm learning is just trial and error. You just try it and then you try again, then you try again, you try again. You guys know that I don't like doing client work like that. I don't like doing Groundhog's Day and just try and then error and then try and then error. So I definitely don't do it like doing any other part of my business that way either. So this is, again, this has been a stretch for me. But here's what I want to share about foundational anatomy in the month of July. First off, call it whatever you want to call it so that you don't lose the value that I want to offer you. And when I mean foundational anatomy, I mean it as a form of simplicity, not pared down into basics of no value. And those are very different. So when we're looking at really complicated client caseworks, chief complaints that are staggering, and you might be tempted to be nervous, I've shared with you guys before July of this year. Don't panic. Go back to your anatomy. What do you know? These are tendons, these are ligaments, these are the differences between them. These are muscles. This is the muscle that does that movement. That joint action is called this, and here's the other muscles that are supposed to be operating with that joint action. That's foundational anatomy. Then I started calling it functional anatomy so that you guys would know it's like how it works. And then everybody started calling everything functional anatomy, and it just got into this big like like a mosh pit, like at the tackle line. It's not the tackle line. I don't know why I choose sports analogies. I don't know the first thing about sports, you guys. I I mess them up all the time. But you know when we're all like on top of the ball, where all the football players just pile drive. My family's big sports people, and I would turn and say to my family members, after the first guy like fully buried the football underneath him, did the other 18 guys need to jump on top of him, or is that like a special thing that they do? Like, why do they? It's like enough already. That's not even efficient. And so I feel like that a little bit on this term functional, this phrase functional anatomy, we just piled all of it in there and now we don't even know what the freak that is. That's not helpful. How do you know where you're going to go find your stuff if that's what it's all called? So Simon, functional applied anatomy. Yeah, I did applied functional anatomy as the name of one of our courses. I just renamed it for that reason because nobody knew what that actually meant anymore in 2025. In 2019, that was the catchphrase. 2025, now you got to market differently because we've all heard a lot of things over and over again. So again, I'm sharing with you like marketing and messaging is a lifelong endeavor even when you're familiar with what you say to your clients, even when, because they're also getting other information from other tracks and it's filling their mind with ideas of things. I was just talking to a practitioner just yesterday, actually, on the word spa. And I'm not a spa therapist. I have, obviously explored that because I explored just about everything along my career path. And spa has a very clear distinctive meaning to me. And in this very healthy conversation that I was having with this practitioner, what she said was, interestingly, the connotation I put now, me, with spa today in 2025 is what spa has become. It's not how it originated. And I thought that's really interesting. Like historically, it was something different. It was a place where lots of things happened depending on what you needed, and you could focus in certain areas. By the time I opened up a wellness clinic, we started calling that integrated. We didn't call it spa because spa to me means this and clinical means this, and they don't interact. So it's pretty interesting, right? Like wherever we've derived our information and our meaning around words, has a almost fixed position when we have a running definition of it. Same thing goes with our clients. And we are in the timeline of information, guys. You are buried in information. Your inboxes are loaded. People have to do jumping jacks in the subject lines just to get your attention. Do you remember the day when we weren't answering emails? Because it wasn't that long ago. I remember when I had a flip phone. I know that makes me sound ancient to some of you who are under the age of 30, but it wasn't that long ago. It was in my lifetime, and I'm not 85 yet. So it's been happening fast, right? This age of information is inundating and very fast. Simon, Salix per, I don't know what that is. Are you talking Latin to me, Simon? You're gonna have to define that. Integrative holistic anatomy. Oh, that's cool. And thank you for putting yeses, Simon, because you know that I can't read full sentences with that beautiful heart icon that's in the way of the comment section. So thanks for doing yeses after your comments. Good practice for everybody in the YouTube chat. Okay, I'm bringing all that up so that we remember to stay fresh and stay alert in the word choices and the potential meaning that already exists in the minds of the people we're in service to. Clients are typically who you're in service to. I'm in service to both you, practitioners, and clients. I got to be really thoughtful and fresh about the word choices. That's why I just renamed an entire course so that it lands as something valuable to you now. It landed differently 6 years ago than it does now. It's not that long ago. Okay, so in the month of July, every year in our mastery program, we start out with a course, a gorgeous course called Inspired Beyond Anatomy. I don't need to change the name of that one. I love it. It's good. It's going to last for a long time. It doesn't, however, tell you what's in the course, and it's loaded. It's a 20-hour CE course that we cover literally A to Z in anatomy. one of our high level graduates, she's in level 3 right now. She just said, boy, was this a doozy. This course was loaded. We'll share the video clip with you on her running inventory of that course. So for those of you who haven't joined us for that course, you'll know what she's talking about. We talk bones, joints, ligaments, tendons, all connective tissue, all organs, all organ systems, all Eastern anatomy, how the Eastern anatomy interfaces with the Western anatomy, why you want to know them and how they're different. Then we get into functional movement and then some common chief complaints like arthritis and what to do about it. We cover a lot. I've said before, if this was the only anatomy course that I was permitted to teach practitioners, if I had to just do only 20 hours of training in my life, what would I teach? It would be that because there's everything in it. There's everything in it. You've got to go back to it. You've got to mine for gold in it. You've got to apply it, but everything's in it. And I really love that about that course. It's the course that we're running this month in our club. So you guys here in the club seats, you'll have that course to have for the entire month. And for those of you who are not in mastery and you're not in the club and you're here with us on Tuesday training, we're going to cover some highlights of this anatomy in the month of July for a million reasons. Some I've already stated. And also, you guys want to solve problems. You want to solve problems that are anatomy related. In order to solve a problem that the anatomy has been up to, that has been created, you've got to know what the anatomy is to solve the problem. You've heard me say that also 1,000 times. And yet sometimes in conversations with practitioners, the simplest answer, not easy, if this was easy, everybody would be doing it, but the simplest answer is based in anatomy. Well, my client has this, my client has that, my client's body is doing this, my client's chief complaint is that. I tried this, I tried that, it didn't work. Gina, what do I do? And those of you who've trained with me, you know, my question back with love is something about anatomy. I will always come back to you with a question about anatomy for a couple reasons. One, to show you that you know where the answer is. B, to show you the part of the anatomy that you want to refresh if you don't know that answer, or you forgot it along the way, or it just wasn't taught to you in a way that actually landed. And now it will because you have a client to work with. So that's how that lands even better. And also to let you think through your database of information. If I just hand you an answer, I haven't taught you how to fish. That means you'll be fed for today, but tomorrow's client will be another whole ball of wax. This foundational anatomy and really understanding how all the pieces are designed and the significance of those designs helps you have a long-standing understanding of when that design goes awry, when something's off. And what we fail to think after a while working clinically is that when a client comes in with a back pain, a shoulder pain, an ankle, a knee, whatever, that is anatomy. It's not. So when we just put bookends around what actually is the foundational anatomy, we remember the freshness. The whiteboard is wiped clean, and we remember exactly what's there so that everything else that could confuse us and distract us becomes less confusing and distracting because we have a really clear picture of what we're working with. So when I say foundational anatomy or beginner anatomy or inspired beyond anatomy, that's what we're talking about. I want you to have such a rich library to pull from that you've got more answers in you than you might have even thought at first blush. So we start our mastery program with that amount of anatomy, because again, if that's the only anatomy I wanted practitioners to, if that was the only anatomy I could teach practitioners, I would want them to know that. And also, once you're working with high level, not like the rest of it's low. I don't mean that, guys. I mean, like when you're working with really complicated orthopedic need for therapeutic intervention type complaints with your clients, you're not doing a session of any other kind. You're just there to solve a musculoskeletal, solve it. What I found teaching mastery the first time through over a decade ago now, is that I could teach the method and exactly how I go about utilizing my method, but the gaps of understanding that method were always in a base of anatomy. There wasn't quite enough anatomy to then follow me through the client case study. So I filled in the program with all this anatomy so that they could follow me through the case study. If it needed to happen from my mastery practitioners, I think we all get to have that. So that's what we're up to here in July. So it's kind of a long-winded roundabout. This is what we're up to this month, but I think landing the foundation for it will be the difference between those of you who lean in and those of you who click off because you think you're beyond that. And in the yoga world, it's really easy to wrap our attention span around this because there's something called the beginner's mind, right? The beginner's mind. So it's spoken to advanced students who, the ones that look like pretzels, can do all kinds of strong handstands in the middle of the room and not need to balance on anything. And yet, while they're advanced in their physical practice, going back to the beginning basics, there's always gold there. There's always gold there that helps their advanced ability become more successful and more refined. So even when you've got a ton of anatomy, there's always a reason to come back to just refresh. Doesn't mean bore yourself. Don't ever be bored. My God, you guys, if you're working on the body or studying the body and boredom is part of your experience, abort, 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 like stop immediately. There should be no boredom. This is so magnificent. It should feel like a magical playland forever. And if you are bored, you're just not on the right topic for you at the moment, or you're not listening to the right teacher or the right format. Maybe you're visual and you're just listening to a podcast, or maybe you're auditory and all you're doing is reading pages and it's not, you're reading the same sentence 3 times. Like use the right learning, context for you as well. And then find something that lights you up because it'll take you down this pathway that I used to lose track of time studying just one question in the body. I would lose track of time. And I was like, oh, I think I found my spot. Wait, do I have to stop for lunch? Can I just keep finding things? So that's where I want you to play. Feel like that always inspired, even when it's a client question. Even when it's a client question. Simon says, yes, it's Latin, health by water. Health by water, is that a name of a book? Is that a title of something? Health by water. Cheryl took a drink. Okay, let's all take a drink. Let's all take a health by water. Take a drink. Thanks, Simon. Love the whiteboard idea to start. Yeah, Gary, right? Like wipe it clean so that you're not too detail distracted. All right. So what I want to do today actually is inspired by one of our graduates. So Lisa also graduated last week. And I remember early on, I thought of this after your graduation, Cheryl. I remember, oh, spa, health by water. I got it, Simon. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, spas usually have a ton of water. I thought of this last week, Cheryl, after your graduation, that you might remember this. Lisa, at one point, middle of the year, probably more closer to the beginning of the year, said, all those things on your website that you say we're going to learn, I want you to take me through that bullet point list, and I want you to actually show me that I'm going to learn all that. Do you remember her saying something like that? I'm slightly paraphrasing.
Vaguely, yeah, yeah.
Vague is kind of in there. And then after graduation, I was like, I didn't do the checklist. I wanted to do the checklist. So we're going to do that today. So this is Lisa inspired. So I know, Lisa, you're probably going to catch us on the replay. This is Lisa inspired. I want to walk us through what I say we cover in the mastery program, not to sell you on the mastery program, but my goodness, if you're thinking about it, stop thinking and let's just go because time's ticking. But to show you how much anatomy is needed to create that kind of orthopedic results, because it's all yes, I show you all that, and you need anatomy to get you there. So we're going to go through that list, and I'm going to pull it up here in the background. I don't think you guys are going to see it, but while we're here together live. However, it is available if you guys want to follow along and like, what list was she reading from? It's on the mastery page on our website. All right. So here's what we're going to do. There are 12 bullet points, only 12 that are outlined, and it's an overview, but it's also pretty specific about what happens there in mastery. And so I want to share with you how we get to those results through anatomy. So if you guys are looking to create those results, you'll recognize there's some anatomy that's needed. All right. So the first one is applied principles of alignment, injury, and function. Now, I just told you guys that one of the courses, one of many, there's over a dozen courses that we cover during the year. One of them was called Applied Functional Anatomy. So we did talk about the anatomy and what's applicable about that anatomy on how the body moves. So if a client comes in and says, it hurts when I do this, and insert movement here, whatever that is, reach down to touch my toes, take my arm over my head, or walk, or sit, or get up from sitting. If it hurts when I do this, that's function, meaning there's biomechanics and function involved in lots of joint actions and a whole host concert that we call it of muscles in reciprocal inhibition involved in that particular action. In order for us to be able to solve that problem, client says, when I do this, it hurts. In order for me to solve that problem, I need to know what the joint action is. That's anatomy. I need to know what muscles they're using to do that job, also anatomy. What muscles aren't available to do that job, also anatomy. Now we're in compensatory and recruitment land. And I need to know a tool to bring them back to that. Got it. So the Schatz method is the tool to bring them back to that. Everything else before that was all the anatomy that you need to be able to solve it. So there's anatomy again. We talked about the start of injuries in all of the courses in our CE library. We talk about the start of injuries. So this is the anatomy and this is how it works until it starts to do this, and now you're headed towards an injury. I always say that in every course. And then once you're in the injury, now you need a different set of skills to solve it, but you need all this anatomy to see how it happened so that you can solve it. And we don't solve things with tools and techniques. We've said that here many, many times. And I've made my case on that. Okay. Number two, Cheryl, would you say that's correct? So far as this landing is accurate for you, that you did
Yes.
learn that, and also you needed anatomy in order to be able to learn that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so far I'm 1 for 1. Let's keep going. A deep dive into the nature of injuries and how to restore function. So in the mastery program, I promise that we are going to take a deep dive into the nature of injuries and how to restore function. We do that. You learn all this anatomy and how it works. Then you start to see how it goes awry. And then once we're in the mastery program, we deep dive into how it goes awry. And we start assessing. We have tons of skill around how do we assess it and what is it tied to and how do these two parts relate. And then we talk about what to do about it. In order for us to learn that skill set, so I'll call out the measurements so it's not too like esoteric. For example, one of the big parts of the Schatz method is we measure orthopedic structures and we identify those measurements and we identify what caused those measurements and then we remedy them. And we also identify what the implication of those measurements is. Like if you have a measurement in your body, it does this whole, it has all this effect, which could look like all these different symptoms, but it's only one measurement. So we simplify it down. And my belief on that is in order to measure and do those measurements, which some practitioners would probably be like, well, just teach me the measurements, Gina. That in order to do those measurements, I believe you need to know the anatomy so that you know where to put your hands to measure. Cheryl, do you believe that's true?
Absolutely.
Okay, right? So there I am again. I want to
Yeah.
teach you the measurements. I want to teach you what to do about it. You got to have the anatomy to do it. So thank you, Cheryl. I'm so glad you're here today. This is perfect. So it's not just hearsay. Okay, number 3. You will learn in a year confidence in functional anatomy and knowledge to best assist any student or any client. Meaning, you can be a massage therapist, personal trainer, Pilates instructor, yoga teacher, or any or all of the above and more of body workers, and that all the anatomy that I teach you will apply to the work that you do. And that puts our training in a very interesting middle lane. If you guys are here and you're a manual practitioner, you're probably used to only hearing what you need to hear from other manual practitioners, which I am. But if you're a movement practitioner and you're here, you're probably used to getting your other training from other movement practices and organizations. But I'm also trained in movement. I'm one of the few trainers that I know. I'm actually the only trainer that I know. I'm saying few because I'm sure there's someone else out there, but I haven't met them yet. And I have a summit with, more than a dozen speakers every year. And I've done that for 5 years. And I haven't met yet anyone who toes the line like we do here, where the same anatomy is applicable, whether you're a manual practitioner or a movement practitioner, and how you approach it might be slightly different, but what you need to do for it is the same. And I talk about that so that we are all learning from each other and we don't have to segregate anymore. Part of segregating our industry means that we're divided and not partnered. And if we're divided, that's how you get conquered. We don't want to divide and conquer. We want to merge and grow together. That's how all of our industry will rise. So I'm pretty passionate about that. And also it makes it simpler when the anatomy applies to all people in service to the body, right? Like it's not like some trade secret over there in the background that you haven't found yet. It's right here. It's right here. So, confidence in functional anatomy and knowledge to best assist any student or any client. Cheryl, I'm totally putting you on the spot on this one. Do you think we reached that in your year one of mastery?
Yes.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Number 4. Oh, were you going to say something else?
Nope. Nope. You said it.
Are you sure? Did you start to say something else?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Simon, I'm a total newcomer to your method. It's a method. Thanks for asking. I would really like to know how could I get access to your PNF masterclass? Simon, today you could go to our course grid on our website, and today it's actually a birthday bonanza. It's on sale. So the PNF masterclass is available to all practitioners. You don't have to be in the mastery program to have access to that, and it's a really good one because we teach you how to do PNF to the entire body, head to toe, and also how to walk your clients and students to do it for themselves as well. And also why you want to do it, like why PNF is the thing. So Simon, have a look at the course grid and let me know that you find it. Otherwise, I can work with you after training today and we can get you what you need. All right, number 4, we're working up to 12. I'm just checking the time. We're good. How to replace the fear of injuries with a keen awareness and kinesiology so your clients view you as the best in your field. Oh, it's not listed, Simon? Oh, darn. Okay, that was a mistake on our part, but I promise you, you can have access to it. We must just not have added that as we loaded them all up over the weekend. Um, Simon, would you please send me a direct email to my inbox? And when I'm done here on training, I will send you the link to that masterclass. I was gonna say we could put it up on the website, but did you guys hear me at the beginning? That's not my rodeo. Like, let me do what I'm good at. I can send links, but I don't want to promise to do anything to the website. But I will get you that masterclass for during the birthday bonanza, Simon. Okay. All right. Number 4. Let's do this again. How to replace fear of injuries with keen awareness and kinesiology, so your clients view you as the best in your field. So my intention for the year is for those of us who came in nervous about my client presented with this and I don't really know what to do about it, to let you know that there is a way to find that answer. You might still be working on that answer. I work every week with my clients too to figure out what actually is going on here. But I know I have the ability to solve it. So I'm confident now on that. And my clients know that they can come to me for very specific reasons with a very clear outcome. How was that for you, Cheryl? Did you get it in the year?
Yeah, definitely feeling more confident. Always still trying to figure things out, workshop things out, and get to resolving an issue. But everyone's body is so different.
Mhm.
So it continually makes the mind have to work for it and think for it. But
Yeah.
so much more confident in knowing that there is a resolve.
There is a resolve. There is a resolve. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't want to feed an answer out of you, but I just want to ask this. In your restored confidence that there's an answer to every injury, do you lean on the anatomy to support you with that confidence, or do you not recognize leaning on anatomy for that confidence?
Couldn't do it without the anatomy. I
Okay.
mean, it's all based on anatomy.
Out of the expert's mouth, like we need the anatomy. We need the
Gotta
anatomy.
have it.
Gotta have it.
Couldn't do it without it.
Can you imagine, Cheryl, honestly, can you imagine if you came into mastery last year and I only taught you the method and you didn't have any of the coursework on anatomy?
No, it's the
Really?
foundation. It's the foundation. You got to have the anatomy
Mhm.
in order to to build the building. It's,
Right.
yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
There's that word again. It's the foundation. And I just want to emphasize for everybody who's here who doesn't know Cheryl the way I do, Cheryl, you already came into mastery loaded with knowledge. So sometimes we hear another practitioner talk and we're like, yeah, well, she probably didn't know anything when she started. Oh, yes, she did. She was certified in several things. And I happen to know the people she trained with. She was very well vetted in anatomy before she got here. But there's something about this gap in anatomy that I'm in this lane on the anatomy. I'm only in this lane. I don't make it complicated. We don't squirrel out too far. We don't get too much in our head about it. It's just this is the anatomy, like nuts and bolts. This is it. And there's so much that can be answered already right there. And that's the type of anatomy that I teach and that I think is required. And so interesting that you were already really well vetted with a ton of anatomy, and still this foundational anatomy was foundational to you, I heard you say, to learning this
Hmm.
method. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Number 5. Thanks, Sophia. Happy birthday to me. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here celebrating with us. Okay, number 5, expertise in assessing misalignments and how they can affect movement and function that contribute to pain and what to do about them. That's kind of like a multi-promised line 5. So I said there was 12, but there was more. There's more. So expertise in assessing alignment. Did you get expertise in assessing alignment, Cheryl?
Well, I can do it now.
Yeah. Right?
I can assess alignment. Yes.
Yeah, so we do alignment. I've said this before on external alignment and also internal alignment. They're two different things. So external alignment is like what you see with your eyeballs. If you're a movement person, then you're watching your people move and their form while they're moving. That could be yoga or personal training, Pilates. If you're a manual practitioner, you're watching their posture. Like, are they aligned in their posture? Are they standing upright in their posture? I call that external alignment. We do a ton of that the first 3 months. But then there's also internal alignment, and that is the relationship of the bones with each other and the joint structures and the soft tissue that holds those bones in that orientation with each other, which could be the way they're designed, or it could be misaligned and not exactly how they're designed. They're in this new configuration. Something's gone awry. You can't see that with your naked eye. You just can't. You've got to learn how to measure the body. That's the method. But in order for me to teach you those measurements, we've already said this a few bullet points ago. In order for me to teach you those measurements, you need to know the anatomy to know what the freak you're measuring. And then you need to know the anatomy to recognize what caused those measurements. Because again, if bones are in a relationship with each other that's not optimal for them, there's soft tissue involved. It could be tendon, it could be ligament, it could be muscle. There's a reason why those bones are in that orientation with each other. We need to find out what that is. And that's an anatomy answer. It's an anatomy answer. It's not a chief complaint answer, it's an anatomy answer. What soft tissue is causing that misalignment? And what does that soft tissue need from you? You need to know the anatomy for that. Tendons need different things than ligaments, which need different things and respond differently than muscles. They just do. In order to know what to do, it's not a technique that's going to tell you that. It's the anatomy and the part that you're working on that's going to tell you that. So I've said this a few times in the last few weeks as I've been in conversation with so many beautiful practitioners who are like loaded with techniques. They have, a wall full of certificates on technique training. And I say, okay, great. So that technique is to do that. What are you working on when you're doing that? And what effect are you having on that body part when you're doing it? And the number of practitioners who couldn't answer that was staggering for both me and them because they're like, I actually don't know what I'm doing. No wonder I don't feel confident, but I have all these certificates and all these different techniques. Right. The techniques are amazing, guys, but I need you to have the anatomy so you know how to use them and what they're for. Otherwise, you're just smarty pants with no more confidence. Like that doesn't work. How many times have I said confidence already? I want you to be confident in these things. Okay. And every time the body exhibits pain, it's because the anatomy or the use of that anatomy is no longer optimal. Something's gone off. Something's awry in the anatomy or in the way we're using the anatomy. Muscles don't just spontaneously get unhappy. And when they are, they need something from you so that they can then do their job again. Same thing with tendons, same thing with ligaments, other joint structures, etc. And then also the bones in relationship to each other. And what causes those bones to be in relationship to each other? What tissue is holding them together? And what is that tissue responsive to? What impacts those tissues that causes those bones to have a new alignment? And that's true for bones and muscles and ligaments and tendons. We need to have really solid knowledge about muscles and all of them and how they work together in concert to be able to assess a joint movement because muscles move bone. We need to know all the muscles that do that. And when the muscles are in duress, we need to know how does the body register whatever it's registering that creates that duress because muscles don't do it spontaneously. There's something that's going on in the body. Sometimes, again, I still hear practitioners say, well, just tell me what's going on in the body and I'll address it. What's going on in the body is anatomy related. So I want you to go back to the anatomy. I keep saying this. All right. It's kind of the focal point for today, so it's okay if I keep saying it over and over again. All right. Then we teach you an arsenal of simple functional assists to implement immediately, which allow you to prevent and treat an injury at the moment. Need to go. Happy birthday. Thanks, Cheryl. Happy birthday. So glad you were here with us.
Thank you.
And everybody just channel Cheryl for the rest of the answers because she'll tell you that she learned all this. And then Cheryl, you let me know if you're resonant with all of the answers by the end of the training today. Okay.
Okay.
Have fun with your client.
Thank you.
Okay, an arsenal of simple functional assists to immediately implement, allowing you to prevent and treat injury at the moment. Your clients and students will sing your praises. It's so true. We have more than 40 functional assists that I developed, literally working with my clients uniquely for them. And when I started using them on a couple different clients and then continuing to use them on a couple different clients, I was like, oh, I'm onto something. These really work. Let me teach my practitioners them. And what we do with these more than 40 functional assists is we address whatever is being presented, whatever we've identified in the anatomy that needs support, we address them with a functional assist. But functional assists are never a treatment plan. We actually have a specialty class just for our mastery practitioners, and that's the title of the class. Functional assists are not a treatment plan because I've said that over and over and over again. It's so tempting to want to just throw a technique or an assist or an intervention at a chief complaint, and that will never solve the problem. It might subdue some of the immediate discomfort, but it won't solve the problem. And still, I'm going to teach you an arsenal of, like I said, more than 40 assists to get you started, but it's not the whole treatment plan. There's more to learn on that. And I don't come up with dozens of functional assists anymore because again, we already have over 40. But even still, I've come up with a few new ones. And every year at our retreat, I teach the new ones. I'm like, okay, guys, get another worksheet out. I got a couple more for you from what's come up clinically this year. So we keep, advancing and enhancing what we know and how to interrupt and troubleshoot and support what we're working on. Number 7, how to help your students and clients stay out of pain. Yes. For those of you who've taken the pain type masterclass with me, we've done it. It's been a few years now. We did it after one of our summits. Pain Solutions Masterclass, I believe, is the title. You will remember me saying that there are 3 different types of pain that we focus on here in my orbit, and one of them is preventive pain. And somebody in very thoughtful practitioner said, well, if it's preventive, then there's no pain. So why are we talking about it as if it's pain? Great question. Because what we want to do is know the anatomy and what it needs, how it works, and serve that so that they don't end up with chronic pain that becomes a Groundhog Day situation that we don't actually solve. What we want to do to be in best service to the people we're in service to around pain is to teach them how to prevent it. Teach them how to mitigate what's already been started and not repeat the same thing over and over again. And why do we want to do that? Somebody else said, well, if I get them out of pain, then they're not going to come back, which is super selfish, by the way, if you're only thinking about your own wallet. But here's what's true. They will come back more when you solve their pain than they would if you didn't solve their pain. Here's why. If they come to you once and you get rid of some of the symptoms, but you don't solve the problem, they'll be hopeful enough to come back a second time and try again. And then you might be able to message to them that you just need more time. You guys don't need more time. What you need is more skill. You don't need more time. You need more knowledge and more skill to implement a solution is what you need. You don't need more time to do the same thing that didn't solve it. So they might come back a third time. But now the problem hasn't been solved, and one of two things happens. The client either thinks, well, this is just the way it's going to be. I'm not going to keep spending my time and money to keep trying when this is the way it's got to be. Or they're going to jump ship and they're going to go to another practitioner who does something different and might run them through another 3 or 4 sessions and not actually solve it. They're not going to come to you more if you don't solve it. What they will do is send everybody in their life to you to finally solve the thing. And then when life happens, if they have a fall or a slip or they bump their head again later, they will come back to you again because they know you're going to finally get them out of pain. You will generate a longer lasting practice by solving it than if you just keep running them through with a moderate amount of discomfort and then modify away from things. And for movement practitioners, I want to really stress that as well. If they're moving with you, you might be modifying and thinking that you're solving it, but that's not solving it. Solving it means they can do the movement, any movement without pain. So we want to teach towards preventive pain as well, just as much as we want to teach towards acute and chronic pain. And we outline that in one of our courses, and then we follow that through the entire year in mastery. Okay. Number 8, skill at identifying compensatory patterns and offering orthopedic solutions. Absolutely. In order to know a compensation pattern, you've got to know the parts that are at play that are compensating. So you got to know the anatomy. And yeah, you guys, you might be getting bored of me saying this today. That's the focus for today. Like I'm appealing to you about anatomy and foundational anatomy and why it's not just like an eye roll at this point. So yes, you're hearing it a lot today. I'm just enrolling you all in like, oh yeah, I guess it does come up again and then again and then again. In order for the body to present with a compensatory pattern, it has already taken its anatomy and switched it up a little bit. It's pulled away from pain. It's leaned its body weight somewhere else. It's twisted the axial skeleton just enough in the interest of not having you feel like you're in so much pain and discomfort. So the body's doing this all day long, every day until it can't do it anymore, or until there's an implication on the anatomy that makes that compensatory pattern not healthy anymore. And the body loses its ability to do it on its own. It needs intervention. So we might think, especially manual practitioners, well, let me intervene then. Let me just rub it out. Let me just get rid of that tight muscle. But that doesn't solve it. What solves it is knowing how did that muscle respond like that in the first place. You need to be able to trace back through compensatory patterns. The first time we have a compensatory pattern, there's no pain. By the time your client presents with pain, it's been there for a while, and there's been lots of layering of anatomical structures that have reconfigured themselves in usage patterns. In order to digest all that, you got to know the anatomy, because that's what we're digesting, is what happened to the anatomy. Simon, you can only get as far as your anatomy allows you. I love that. That's a good tagline for something. Yes, I won't take it from you, Simon, but that's absolutely a good one for sure. Simon, I actually don't know if you're a manual or movement practitioner. You want to share that with me, just so I know where your come from is? I'd love to know. All right, let's see. Where are we at now? Did I say number 9, inspiration about your craft and how that inspiration can ignite your private practice? So many practitioners come to me for mastery and they are either burnt out, overstudied, they haven't moved the needle on their ability to resolve pain, they're accruing maybe some credit card debt, or they haven't recouped their tuition yet. And when we get buried in lack of confidence or disillusionment or scarcity or anything like that, it makes it very challenging for us to be very inspired and then also contribute to the growth of what's next. And so we do in Mastery a long track of professional development to keep us in the game. And by month 4, I say to practitioners, you should be starting to recoup your tuition. We bring our clients into a lab setting and we all work on clients on this new methodology that they haven't had from you before. And so that's also inspiring. And now you're starting to see things differently. Things are clicking. And that's just at month 4. And then there's 8 more months to go. So that definitely creates a spark of inspiration pretty early on. And then it travels through the rest of the 8 months. I'll say this though, in those first 3 months, what I often hear is a lot of enthusiasm from practitioners, almost at the same time, paired with, oh no, I haven't been doing it like that all this time. Don't worry. When you know better, you do better. And there's always time to make up for it. So you can and you will. And that's why we bring our practitioner or, excuse me, our clients in to the work that we're doing so that they know there's something more and better that we can now offer. Number 10 and number 11, I'm going to read them at the same time. How to position yourself in the marketplace and stand out as an expert. Again, we do tons of professional development and a marketing plan that matches what you do and how you prefer to work. I know there's other training programs that say you've got to do it my way or the highway. That's not true. You get to come with the credentials you came with, and I'm helping you do more pain intervention and elimination. And then you get to work the way you want to, including number 12, how to work remotely and in person. Some of our practitioners see their clients only online. Some of us have clinical settings. Some of us work and we go to our clients and everything in between. It works. It all works online. I work online with clients as well. I also work in a clinical setting and I show you how to do both. And again, in order to do that, you've got to have the anatomy. Simon, you can use my anatomy quote. You already used another of mine. You deserve it. Oh, which one did I use of yours, Simon? Tell me what I used. Hey, Debbie, thanks for the birthday love. I love that you're here. Okay, darlings. So, what we did today, our intention for today was to celebrate all the goodness in the air. We got graduates, we've got new pod coming in, we've got a birthday going on, we've got a birthday bash still going on in our CE library. And our intention, my intention is also to have created an opening in the conversation around this 20-hour anatomy course that we're covering in the month of July and the significance of reviewing and actually knowing all the both sides of the coin on all the anatomical parts and how they work, and how knowing that can leapfrog you into solving orthopedic chief complaints and mitigating and eliminating pain. So that was the intention for the conversation today. How did that land for you, Gary? Are you inspired by Inspired Band Anatomy now? Okay, yes. Did you learn anything new today? Gary, you've been with us for a very committed amount of attention. So did anything land for you today differently?
Just it reinforced where a bunch of the holes are.
Mm,
So, I mean, that's a good place to start.
yeah, it is. Yeah, and that's so honest of you to say that. And so thank you for doing that. It's one of the reasons I love having you here in the club seats. Friends, whenever we identify that there's a gap or a hole in our anatomical knowledge, that is not an invitation to self-flagellate. It's just another invitation to remember this is awesome. There's a lot here, and we don't want to default into pride or arrogance about it. We want to stay alert and humble because we're never going to know it all. And the more we know, the more we can help. But as soon as we start believing, oh, I got it, that's when I get nervous. I don't get nervous with practitioners who don't know anatomy. I get super nervous when they start acting like they know it all. That's dangerous to me. So thank you so much, Gary, for being open and honest about that and for letting us all have permission to just have a couple gaps of anatomy that we want to fill. This is the month to do it. This is exactly why we're here. Simon, thank you for all your quality knowledge. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. I would love to know what quote I used of yours. I would love to know what that is, Simon, if you could let me know that. All right, my friends. So we are off to a magical month. It's always like a fresh start, not only because it's my birthday at the beginning of the month, but it's also a fresh pod of practitioners coming in. So we start fresh all over again. And I'm very excited to bring all of you in that newness with me here on Tuesday training. You're welcome for the advocacy. Which one? Thank you for all your quality knowledge. Which one did I use, Simon? I'm not following the comment section quick enough. I have like 2 conversations going on, but I want to welcome you all in to a fresh month. It's kind of like exactly halfway in the year. So thanks, Gary. That's so cute. I feel very celebrated. I love this. I love that I'm here with you guys today. This is so fun for me. Thank you for spreading the joy. I appreciate you. Yes, even if you're not in any of the celebrations I just talked about, you are at the halfway mark of your year. So you get to decide what you're going to do for the next 6 months of your Gregorian calendar and make it an amazing year. Create all the wins that you want in your practice, solve all the client problems that come to you, and do it in community so you feel supported and we can celebrate every week together. How's that sound? That sounds like a great plan for the rest of the year. Gary, are you typing something? Yes? Do you want to say it or do you want me to read it? Thank you, Simon, for the happy birthday.
Yeah, it's faster to say it. Just
Oh.
think of your birthday as another 360 days around the sun.
Oh, 360 days around the sun. I love the sun. I also love the moon. I love all the planets. And I love, yes, thank you so much, Gary. That's super sweet. Okay, everybody, thank you for being here for the birthday celebration. Remember, if you are looking for CEs, that it's till midnight tonight, Eastern Standard. I should have said that. It's East. I know we're in lots of different time zones. So the birthday bash is till midnight Eastern Standard tonight, July 1st. So make sure you capitalize on that. Pun intended, I guess, if that serves you for the rest of the year. And we will continue here every week for the month of July on our Inspired Beyond Anatomy track. All right, everybody.